Well, I believe we're live. And if we are, you know what time it is. We're back on another journey to truth and life where we utilize the power of truth to be set free from the chains of deception. There's an old song, I believe it's by System of a Down, and it says simply, I got a feeling that somebody's watching me. And right across the other side of Interstate 40, just 5 miles south of Kingman, Arizona, you can see the bright lights from the defense contractor. They're pulling away now, but you know they've been sitting there for the duration of me being parked here off the shoulder of the road. Uh, Silent messages being sent. And that message is, we got our eyes on you. We're watching you from the satellite drones in the sky. We're hacking into your phones, listening to your conversations. And we got mobile and foot patrol having eyes on you at all times. We are in a George Orwellian surveillance state, police state to the 10th exponential. If you don't understand what I mean, you should go read the book. My name is Case Owens. I go by the name of MTAC. That stands for More Than a Conqueror, because truly the Holy Spirit have helped me overcome, to this point, uh, the most atrocious, inhumane acts of aggression toward humanity, satanic acts, if um, I may add. I do apologize, everyone, for not being able to get this message out earlier. Today's been convoluted and congested with um, work, along with um, the situation that I'm dealing with. I am a victim of the Department of Defense and the Federal Bureau of Investigation's human trafficking crime. And we've gone over this before many times. So I see Kabash is in the Bazildan. Yeah, Kabash, I actually, uh, I've been looking forward to doing the video that I know you're going to love. You're going to love the title of it. It's in kind of got you in mind, and it says uh, they don't give a damn about your bojangling black ass. So when I heard that, I said, you know what? This is a Kabosh live stream, uh, and I'm going to be going in on that. As you can see, I'm speaking more freely now due to the fact this is how I got to get the message over to my people. They don't like soft speech, they don't like class, and they don't like tactfulness. So, as the book of Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 11 say, sometimes you have to bring yourself down to people's level in order to get your message across. But though I abase myself, I am not lacking in wisdom, though my speech be rude. And so in today's live stream, I am going to be brief, I'm going to be quick and straight to the point. The title strictly says the Department of Defense contracting is human trafficking warfare. That's exactly what it is. It's human trafficking on a scale unprecedented. America have not seen anything like this since the transatlantic slave trade. And I want to drop it like it's hot, as the song say. I forget who, um, Rap Snoop Dogg or somebody. I don't really follow those people, but it said drop it like it's hot. So I'm gonna drop it like it's hot, give it to you straight up. It is what it is. And there's a crime taking place here in the United States of America, and it's a serious crime. It's a sinister crime. It is a crime that is equatable only to the transatlantic slave trade, which to date is the largest human trafficking uh, event in history. Now, people may not want to accept that and they don't want to talk about it and they say, let's just move on. No, we can't move on. Why? Because the repercussions that has followed is still prevalent to this day. My so-called Afro-American black people have yet to recover from the atrocity of that um, major global human trafficking event. I was speaking to someone earlier, and they were black, and they was telling me, well, hey, I'm from St. Thomas, and this and that and the third. I'm like, hey, if you don't understand, you're Willie lynched. So let me help you out. The only difference between the blood of the people that are here in American that calls themselves Afro-American versus you guys who call yourself um, Virgin Islanders, etc., is where the boat stopped. The boat stopped in America. Your family went to the auction block. If you didn't get sold, guess what? You got back on that boat, and that boat continued to travel to South America, Central America, to the islands, and wherever they could get a sale. And if they couldn't sell you, eventually you landed up in the worst place, which was on the coast of Brazil. And nobody wanted to be in Brazil. More of us died in Brazil. Same family, same bloodline, same Israelite nation died in Brazil than any other part of the world due to the harsh labor there and those inhumane hot conditions, those sweltering jungles. And I'm getting off subject, but riddled with venomous uh, snakes and animals and insects, etc. More of our people died, and that's a cover up. I'm gonna have to cover that at a different time. I'm here to cover one thing, and that is the human trafficking crime that is being committed today, and that crime is being committed by none other than the Department of Defense and these subcontracting firms of the civilian population. So I'm going to go back here real quick, and I see you liking that, man. Hey, your boy MT. I got so pissed off, man. I'm telling you, I am telling you, when say if people could actually hear the thoughts that go through my head sometimes, they would be like, oh, I'm glad that you have a filter, you have a sensor, because every thought that come in my head, I don't let it out. But sometimes it just I look at these Negroes and I'm wondering to myself, like, dude, you just don't get it. You think they care about you? I mean, after 400 years of slavery, after the Tuskegee, after Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, when they bombed you, after the Baltimore experiment, after the Flint, Michigan crisis. I mean, and the list goes on. After the, you know what I mean? Like, it's just Brown versus the Board of Education. Heck, they beat your children in the ground, and literally the National Guards had to be there to protect black elementary school kids. And I'm just covering a trivial amount of the atrocities that have happened toward our people. But now, guess what? These psychopaths are so out of control, everybody's being affected. everybody's been affected. But you know, tyranny has a history. It has a history, and it needs to be brought out. So, as quick as I possibly can, I am going to address just some a few talking points, and then I'll be out the way in the bed, lying down, trying to get some sleep while the Department of Defense attempt to fry me with their directed energy weapons. I'm not going to read all of this. I've read it before. Just going straight to former NSA executive and turned whistleblower, Karen Milton Stewart's statement. And it simply says, this is her quote, the scam, what scam? The scam of human trafficking, how they get you on a defense, national defense watch list to be human trafficked, tortured, non-consensually experimented on, character assassinated, and the likes of the COINTELPRO program, which I failed to mention, and the whole list of atrocities that have happened to our people. And white people, this isn't a bash on, you know, whites or anything like this. It's a bash on the system. The system is messed up, and the system is called the white supremacist system. Your forefathers have done you a disservice. They have literally, and I have to speak like this because my Heavenly Father have commissioned me to. So I've been threatened, I've been beaten, I've been poisoned, I've been drugged, I've been lied on, I've had my homes broken into, I've been violated in the worst ways known to man. I've gone through government beatings. If you've never had a government torture, waterboarding, beating before, you don't want to go through it. You can't imagine it. It's way worse than what you see in the movies and much, much more. But nonetheless, there's the Holy Spirit in me that keeps promoting me. It's like Jeremiah. They done the same thing to him. They locked him up, the prophet. They beat him. They tortured him. And he said, it's just like fire, shut up in my bones. I got to get it out. And I would read that when I was in my earlier walks of this faith. And I didn't quite relate to it. Now I do. You know what I mean? Like today, I'm getting this message out late in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, when the angel Gabriel said, hey, look, man, I know I'm 22 days late with your prayer response, but I had to go through Satan and his whole fallen angel crew before I could get to you. And that's, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a slight comparison. I wouldn't put it on that level, but the things that I faced on today helped me understand a little bit better what it means when Satan and his cronies put obstacles in your way. Sometimes it don't stop what the Most High wants to be done from getting done. It just causes an inconvenience and often a delay. There's a delay in the manifestation. Nonetheless, getting back to her quote from this community warning flyer, it says, the scam, the human trafficking scam goes like this. And what was I saying before that? Oh, yeah, white people. Yeah, this is not a bash toward you. It's a bash towards the system. So you got to separate yourself from the system. When I speak against ideologies, when I speak against philosophies of life that people practice and erroneous behavior of humanity, that's just what it is. And white supremacy, the system, is one of them. It have essentially made the rest of the world look certain type of way toward the whole. You know what I mean? It's like black people. When one black person does something ignorant or bojangles, It makes all of us look bad. If one of us look ghetto, that's the reason why. Why do you think they market the I'm not sure, Cardi B's and uh, the reds, the sexy reds, and people like that, to make us look as a whole like that's who we are. You know what I mean? Thugs, gangsters, hoes, overly sexualized, etc. Because some when you have a person in the spotlight who's like what the worst of the world see, because the average person don't see all white people. The most of the world don't see all black people, but they see those on the stage, you know what I mean, in the spotlight, if you get my drift. And for white supremacies, what the world sees is a history of genociding natives, enslaving blacks, bombing Arabs for their oil and their land and resources, you know what I mean? And the list goes on. Attacking the Orientals for drug purposes, and what they've done to the Mexicans, my goodness. You know what I mean? The Mexicans don't have any balls anymore. They're literally risking their life to cross the Rio Grande just to get over here and to work as a slave. Now, think about that. Think about that. They're willing to cross a desert, and I've been there. I've been to like the Mexico and the Mexico border, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a vast desert wilderness riddled with poisonous snakes, shrubs, and all sorts of what do you call them things? Cactuses, and I mean, I don't see how they do it. Me personally, if somebody go through all that, and I'm not talking about a little bit, I'm talking about hundreds of miles of nothing but desert, torturous death desert. If you can cross all that just to get over into America, just to work and bust tables, I, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm kind of at a contradiction at that point. Like, you know, the bad ones send them jokers back. But if you're doing all that just to come work for $2 an hour, man, let the man work for $2 an hour. He's coming to just be a slave. And that's what y'all done to the Mexicans. You know what I mean? And it's not y'all. When I say y'all, it's just a small, you know what I mean, 1% of the 1% that control the world, the satanic bloodline. And they have you guys fooled. They've even, anyway, we're just going to get straight into it. It goes, the scam goes like this. The human trafficking scam goes like this. Random people, mostly black people, I'll add, or people who are distances. So when she say random people, what she's vaguely saying is black people. And then she's going to add why there's other races, right? So the scam goes like this: random people, aka black people, or this covers the other um, you know, classes and fashions of people, people who are distances. So if you're white and you're distance, or whistleblower, like she was, she's white and she's a whistleblower. So somebody who's, you know, a problem for the elites, the powers that be in this wicked old uh, matrix system, or if you're somebody who leaks out the truth because the Most High puts it on your heart to just say, you know what, this is wrong. I gotta tell somebody. Then guess what? It don't matter if you're white, black, brown, or yellow. They're coming after you. You're going to be human trafficked you too, as well. They are purposely mislabeled as terrorists, enemies of the state, and put on an enemies list, which is then turned over to defense contractors. This is how the scam goes. So random people, mostly black people, who in the manifesto or the mission statement of the FBI's secret warfare against the black community that was exposed in the 1978 congressional court hearing COINTELPRO trials. They were looking for black messiahs, messianic figures that could unify, electrify the nationalist black movement. What do that mean? Someone with a plan and a message and an electrifying way of uniting the spirits of a base, marginalized people. If we could get them together, they was targeting us. They was identifying us as the Messiah of our people, and they was eliminating anyone with that potential. The mission statement of the FBI's secret warfare against the black community was to identify a black Messiah, and this is where I was placed on the list. I had no idea I even had potential to be anything other than a halfway decent person to the best of my ability. Turns out they saw much more in me than I saw in myself. And so, moving on, this says whistleblowers are purposely mislabeled as terrorists. I am not a terrorist. I am not a criminal. I haven't committed any crimes. And would glad trying to get to court. What is it called? Obstruction of justice. It's the reason why I have not yet made it to court, because I'm going to sue the pants off whoever put me on this list. The federal government. Mislabeled as terrorist and put on an enemies list, which is then turned over to defense contractors. Who and what are defense contractors? People hear that, they don't know what it is. Defense contractors are civilians who work for security corporation firms. Corporations, firms, or businesses. Anytime you hear the word corporate or firm or business, you got to automatically think profit, capital, gain, capitalism, gain. They're in business to do what? To make money. That's simply what that is. So defense contractors are civilians in the business of human trafficking. And where do they get the money from? The national defense budget. So over $800 billion, that's nearly $1 trillion of the US fiscal annual budget is allotted to defense alone, not to healthcare, not to education, not to infrastructure and, road projects, none of that. The majority of the U.S. spending goes towards defense. As a matter of fact, it's not even close. The closest one who to our defense budget is China, and they only spend just over $30 billion. The last I checked, which was a few months ago, just over. Think about that. From 800 billion, no, 60, it was like somewhere like 65 billion. They spend 65 billion, and then after that, I believe it's the UK with like 30 billion. It's hard to keep all those numbers in my head, but that kind of gives you an idea of how psychopathic these people are. That means that they put more effort into warring against the world than they do against educating the minds of the people, keeping the people healthy. What do that tells me? That tells me that they have a greater investment in killing people off than keeping people alive. When the healthcare budget is less than 3% of the defense budget, that tells me that they're uh, greatly invested into finding ways to kill people off through warfare than they are in keeping people alive with accessible health insurance and health facilities, etc. But it goes on. So these defense contractors are just regular day civilian whose job just so happened to be in, you know, national security. That's it. Um, and so these enemies list through the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court of Appeals is turned over to these civilian contractors. These are the ones riding around with the Florida tags, with the tinted windows, bribing you with the New Jersey tags, with the Texas tags, with the, you know what I mean, out of state tags, paper tags, etc. They're the ones who are associated with these defense contracts. They're the ones who's getting the allotted budget when it's summoned out through the Foreign Intelligence Court of Appeals. They're the ones that go and bid on the contracts. When you bid on the contract, it's um, it's the same thing. How do I put this? I mentioned earlier that to date, the transatlantic slave trade was the biggest human trafficking crime known to the earth. Well, they would put us on auction block, and people would come to the auctions and they would make bids on humans who just so happen to be of a darker hue being sold into slavery. So today it looks a little bit different. They can't do the same thing. You know, they got the same way, but they can do the same thing with a different presentation. And so they just present it different. When they go to these FISA courts, they make auction bids on certain contracts in certain areas. That's people like me and others were bidded on. Like, how much money will you um, pay me to take this person, or etc. And so there's these bulk contracts containing real people with real lives, etc. Goals, beliefs, who's been bidded on and sold out through these contracts to civilians who's obviously lost their um, sense of humanity for profitable gain. It's no different than slavery, right? Plantation owners would buy my ancestors. Why? Because they would say, you know what? I can spend $100 on a slave today, but by the time I'm done working that slave for free labor, I've been made that a million times over, right? So these contracts are given out, and these people are making money hand over fist off people like you and I. And it says they're handed over to the defense contractors to do what? To target under perverted interpretations of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And I don't have it with me today, but I have a book called Dark Psychology, and in a video I done 2 weeks ago, I showed you guys the dark psychology of the big white lie. What's the big white lie? Black people are inherently violent towards whites, and therefore it's a matter of national security to control them, etc., etc. Go read the book. If you don't have time to do that, go watch the video, and so forth. But yeah, so it allows you to understand the psyche, which is the catalyst for why this is. You know what I mean? Um, and so to target underneath National Defense Authorization Act. So national defense is code for nationally securing the white supremacists. And if you're not a white supremacist and that's not your ideology or philosophy of life, this do not apply to you. Like I said, I don't attack people on phenotype. That would be very low and small-minded of someone to do so. I'm talking about a philosophy, a flawed way of thinking that's not like this, because you have black white supremacists. Believe it or not, you have black people that treat other black people worse than a white man would dare to treat them. So I'm talking about the ideal or the ideology of white supremacy. So national defense, when you hear that in America, it is code for nationally securing the white man's position at the upper echelon, because they fear their system failing. And this is a satanic thought process. This is the satanic, Varillian bloodlines. This is how they think, and they control military, they control politics, they control media, etc. And the PAA, which is the Patriot Act. People keep on referring to it as the Patriot Act. In 2015, it was renamed the Freedom Act, but people still know it as the Patriot Act. So we'll call it the Patriot Act for the time being. So they feel like they're patriots. This is why you see the POW flags. Civilians who truly believe that their country is in threat of, being taken over, when they're the threat. They're the George Orwellian, society that have been brainwashed and bamboozled by a tyrannical oligarchan government. And we'll get to that real briefly, and then I'll end this video. But this is how the human trafficking go. So police are even used as liaisons. That means that they help to their accomplices in the Human Trafficking Act. So if you go to the police and you say, hey, I'm being stalked, I'm being harassed, I'm being poisoned, I'm being drugged, I'm being raped, my stuff is being stolen, police already know about it. They are liaisons. Their job is to turn their back on you, not to protect and to serve you and to uphold and enforce the law. Once you're thrown on this targeting human trafficking list, they turn into the slave patrol. If you don't know what the slave patrol is, go research it. Type into Google, what was the slave patrol in America? Well, before the police department was the police department, they were called the slave patrol. They were, you know, anyway, go do your research, and then it'll open up your eyes. You go, whoa, I had no idea this was the origin of the contentions between the black and the blue. It, if you don't know the history of something, you'll continue to repeat it. So everything has a history, and that's why I do my research. You know what I mean? I dig into the history. Why is it? If you go to a doctor and you say, hey, I have this wrong with me, what is he going to do? He's going to ask for your medical records. Why? Because your medical records contain the history of your health, illness, sicknesses, diseases, vital signs, all that. The first thing that they do is pull a history of your health, right? They're going to ask who's your primary physician. Why? Because they're going to have them fax over or email your medical history. They want to know the history so they can properly diagnose what is going on with you right now. And that's what I'm doing. I'm diagnosing humanity's, specifically America's illness and sickness and disease. And I'm telling you, it is a sick disease called white supremacy. And it never went away. It never went away. It's a sick psychology, and I'm here to diagnose it. And it's a satanic disease. Once that is cured, Satanism will be cured. All right. So, getting back, it says, in full, this scam, the human trafficking scam goes like this. Random people or people who are distances and whistleblowers are purposely mislabeled as terrorists, put on an enemies list, which is then turned over to defense contractors. And we just described what defense contractors are. Those are the civilians human trafficking you, making money off you, to target under perverted interpretations of the National Defense Authorization Act and the PAA, Patriot Act. Police are used as liaisons. They're no longer protecting and serving. They turn into the slave patrol. To citizen vigilante groups like InfoGuard, that means they take the law into their own hand. They treat you like dirt. They treat you like crap, and they make money while they're doing it. They test non-consensual military weapons and psychotronic, neuroinvasive technology on you, poison, drug, rape, and much, much more. You know what I mean? The niche of healthcare, called behavioral health, is highly invested in this thing. You know, mental health is making money hand over fist through this human trafficking ring that is going on. And you have to understand the history of that too. Topical psychology. Look up topical psychology in Bernays with topical psychology, behavioral modification. You know what I mean? Subjecting someone to inhumane, torturous, uncomfortable conditions till they modify their behavior to what is suitable for the person who's targeting or executing the dark topical psychology, behavior modification, topical psychology, Dr. Bernays. Look all this stuff up and you'll understand. We'll get to a little bit of it and then I'll be out your way because I am tired and beyond that, physically, mentally, emotionally, but spiritually, my spirit is definitely willing. That's the Holy Spirit power. So police are used as liaisons to citizen vigilante groups like InfoGuard. Look up InfoGuard. Those are the people on your job. You're minding your own business at your job, and then, you know, somebody on your job's constantly picking, constantly trying to get you in trouble, trying to throw you on these enemies watch lists. They are associated with InfoGuard. That's the FBI's private sector of citizen spies. They go back and they report to the enemy. Same thing happened. It's just a representation of the COINTELPRO program, the counterintelligence warfare against black people, funded by the FBI's. They did the exact same thing. They would have civilians they would hire and pay underneath the table to go to people's jobs, go to people's places of worship, or community civil organizations, and identify someone, and people would just automatically throw whoever they had a vendetta, or the scriptures say jealousy is as cruel as the grave, someone that they was jealous of or envious of, they would throw them on the list. Well, it's even older than that. You got to go look at the Stasi program and the policing program. As a matter of fact, just read the book George Orwell's 1984, which was somewhat of a prophecy of America's current condition. I myself feel like the main character, what was his name? Winston. Yeah, that's me, Winston. with thought police, while everyone else is just bred and circus fed, entertained, and they could care less about the you know, slippery slope toward destruction that America is on. So these civil-minded organizations who are lied to, they are lied to, and that's what they done. They lied, and now they're slithering like the snakes they are underneath the crevices of the rocks, trying to hide from being confronted with the lies that they concocted about me, not knowing that eventually the Most High would make a way for everything to come out. And it says they're lied about the target or the victim of human trafficking being a terrorist, a traitor, a criminal. And what are they? It says they are enticed and paid. That's human trafficking. Profiting, the human trafficking, simply put, is the profiting of another person's body or intellectual ideal against their will. That's human trafficking summarized. So any profiting that someone's making off your body, your persons, your mind, your ideal against your will, that it, or forcing you to do something against your will, that's human trafficking. Um, that is called duressful human trafficking, when they force you against your will to stalk and harass them 24/7. And this is from a book called Synopsis of the Silent Holocaust Taking Place in the United States. You guys should go get that book and read it. I'm going to briefly go to, let's see, I'm going to go here real quick, read some of these comments, and then shut it down. This is from a book called The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, Shaping the Moral, Spiritual, Cultural, Political, and Economic Decline of the United States. America was doomed from the start. Why? Because those that rule in secrecy control your politicians, control your celebrities, etc. They design America from the beginning. These are the elites with power. These are the think tanks, the movers and the shakers, the hidden hand. And you know what? The hidden hand don't want to be exposed. Why? When you discover that hand, you find out that it's Satan's hand. The hidden hand is just another, word. It's the influence, it's the secret influence of Satan and the satanic ones. And so these are the people who shape the moral, spiritual, cultural, political, and economic decline of America. So before you even, before the Constitution, before any of that, these people already had America on a trajectory of what it was purposed to accomplish. That's the meaning, the hidden Masonic meanings of the symbols on your dollars, etc., which I don't have time to go into right now. I could explain all that to its decline. So America's in its decline. And so I'm going to go here because the headlines is talking about the destruction or the chaos that is ensuing in California. Well, it's deeper than that. And so we're going to get to it. If you guys are familiar with George Orwell's book, 1984, then you'll be able to relate what I'm about to read. And I'm not going to read, but maybe 2 paragraphs real quick. Understanding California and the human trafficking through psychology and the National Defense Authorization Act. It says, after studying the state of California, I came to the conclusion that it was the largest contingent of invisible army. And that's what this is, the civilian army of hired mercenaries. That's what defense contractors are. It is an invisible army. You can't, if the military shows up and BDUs, battle dress uniform, camouflage, you know that you're dealing with the military. Well, what happens when an army shows up and they're dressed in khakis, button up Calvin Klein, and some Nikes? They look just like you, right? It's hard to tell who's who. They become an invisible army. And that's what defense contracting is. It's a privatized army that is human trafficking other civilians. After studying the state of California, I came to the conclusion that the largest contingent of invisible army shock troops in the country, which is what they are, they're shock troops, go look that up, which was made, this is where it started, which has made California something very close to a socialist police state. That's what has happened. Socialism, Marxism run America. You should also read another book. I just started this one called Democracy in Chains. It talks about the radical right and the Marxist ideals that permeates this country. I'm only 2 chapters into that book, and let me tell you, I don't agree with everything, but I agree with a lot of it. There's a lot of truth so far. The invisible army, the civilian army, people living next to you, working next to you, driving up and down the streets in their RVs and their paper tag sedans. This is the invisible army, or AKA shock troops in the country, which has flooded it. You see a lot of California tags, which has made California very close to a socialist police state. Stasi, Russia, Nazi Germany. It's here in America. And it's not no surprise after Operation Paperclip, all those Nazi scientist stages, World War II ended in 1947, I believe. In 1948, all those Nazis became the CIA, the NASA. That's why they have all these satellites in the air, weaponized satellites at that. I believe California will be the model of the rest of the nation, and it was. This book was on point. I forget when it was written. Let me see. It was written in 2006, right? So in 2006, California became the model. California was the first state with this gang stalking, human trafficking concept. It became a police state, a socialist state, a Stasi Nazi state. Going on, it says, at the present time, there are no laws on the books that make this type of conditioning illegal. Reese and Lunan, these are the think tank leaders, right? These are the psychiatrists, the people behind the scenes that manipulate the masses. They draw up the trajectory of what the where the country's going as a whole, the masses. They shape the moral, spiritual, cultural, political, and economic atmosphere. You know what I mean? They make it go up or go down. Get a book by Jim Marrs called Rule by Secrecy, and then you'll understand. But Reese and Lunan, these are very powerful elites that you would never see on TV. Hear none of that. Hear about, but they control your politicians. They puppet all your so-called influencers. They researched the laws of England and the US. This is the history of it, and concluded that it was legal to condition a person without his or her consent or knowledge, behavioral modification. Right? I told you it was rooted in mental health, in psychiatry. Right? These are the mass manipulators using the dark psychologies, Lunan and Reese, along with Bernays and a host of others. Through the Nazi psychology, they concluded that topical psychology, behavioral modifying, was the easiest way to control and enslave the masses of the people through manipulation, subtle tactics, a person without his or her knowledge. We need to change this. Polling is an integral part of conditioning. Tavistock invisible army of shock troops has challenged the way America thinks about rock, premarital sex, drug taking, children born out of wedlock, promiscuity, marriage, divorce, family life, abortion, constitution, and yes, even murder. So they control everything. You thinking your thoughts are your own? No, through media, through television, through your public educations, these people have been pulling your strings since you've been old enough to enroll in kindergarten. You just don't know it. These are the people that really, I'm talking about on a very esoteric level. They control everything. Why do you think the way that you do? Why do you see the world the way that you do? They control, it's 5 families that control all the media across the entire world. If you don't have their mainstream, all mainstream medias is boiled down to 5 families. You know what I mean? Interscope and all that's owned by the same family. Sony, and I could go on and on. As a matter of fact, that's what got Michael Jackson killed, because he tried to outsmart him, and he did outsmart him. But you know what I mean? Very few people have survived going toe to toe with the elite, and I'm thankful and grateful to still be alive to this day. So I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to jump over. Let's see. It was another part that was very interesting, and I'm so tired, you guys. I'm going to have to pull it up in the next video because my thoughts aren't as cohesive as they should be due to the fatigue. Anyway, I had much more to say. Unfortunately, my body is beyond exhausted and I have to get some sleep. It says Battle for Your Brain. Hi, MTAC. Hey, what's going on? It says, thanks for the great content. You're more than welcome. Word MTAC, speak the truth. I will continue to speak it till I can't move a muscle in my jaw. That's all I know how to do is speak this truth and consume the enemy with this Holy Spirit fire. It says, yes, like 1984, but worse. Doesn't feel like this is, does not feel like this is worse than any horror film, sci-fi nightmare you could ever imagine for your life. You are an inspiration, MTAC. Thank you for fighting to expose truth. And once again, you are welcome. It takes a lot. Imagine trying to do this, you know what I mean? Research information, study the history, and come up with a solution, not for some people, but for all humanity. While under vicious attack, my finances are under attack, my body's under attack. Through psychotronic weaponry, my mind's under attack, my family's under attack. You know what I mean? So there's extreme levels of repression, oppression, torture that uh, most could never even fathom. And I still have to find a way to press it out. 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, researching, gathering information, prayers, you know what I mean? Working overtime. Some days I might work 16 to 18 hours straight nonstop just to have the extra hour or two that I need to pick up a book and read, or to research the web, or to, call and um, do whatever it is that I got to do. So yeah, it's a lot, and it's not nothing I would wish on anyone. You know what I mean? For those freedom fighters that came before me, my homage is to them, because I know what they experienced in order to get accomplished what would propel the next generation forward. And that's what this is. This is um, me making the sacrifices today so that the posterity, you know what I mean, the future generations can benefit off of it tomorrow. If no one fights against this tyrannical system today, then our children will be enslaved forever underneath it in our tomorrow. So this is why I do what I do. It's not just for me, it's for the posterity of humanity across the entire world, because I see where this thing is going, and it's not good. It is not good at all. Read the book 1984 and you'll see thought police. These thoughts that I'm uttering is considered to be a crime in America, the so-called land of the free and the home of the brave. The uh, you know model for democracy, with the Bill of Rights, including your First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of faith and religion, and the right to petition or confront your government in the time of grievance, all supposed to be protected under your First Amendment, right? But thought police in this tyrannical oligarchic system, this deep state system has hijacked America from the inside. And I wanted to find that part because it's actually in this book. My eyes are just too weary to be able to skim and locate exactly where that passage is, because it um, articulate this better than I could. But an oligarchic system that has hijacked America through infiltration, and that's what got John F. Kennedy killed, because he discovered it. He saw it. And he said, these are guerrillas by night, not armies by day. You know what I mean? And that's what they've done. They have snuck in to every facet, every system. You know what I mean? Every facet, every system. Um, Let me try to find it. All right. So here's a little bit. It says, where did the invisible army, that's these so-called defense contractors, these shock troops, get their training? They got it from Reese at Tavistock. So you got to understand what the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations is all about, why America is the way that it is, why 9/11 happened, etc. They were conditioning the people for this today, turning America from a free democracy to a Stasi Nazi police state. It says they got their training from Reese, behavior modification. They are victims of behavioral modification, and they don't even know they are victims of topical psychology, mind control, MK Ultra, etc. They are victims of Nazi hypnotism. They got it from Reese at Tavistock. Reese was a Nazi um, style master dark psychologist. It says from where they fanned out where? Through Operation Paperclip across America to do what? Sow their seeds of environment, social turbulent stress patterns. They penetrated, this is what John F. Kennedy was talking about, that the infiltrators, the guerrillas by night instead of armies by day, in his last speech, they penetrated, Trojan horsed every level of American society, obtaining post in places where they could exert the influence Reese had been taught, had taught them how to use. Decisions made by the members of the invisible army of shock troops have profoundly affected America at every level. At some levels, no. At every level, this invisible army have infiltrated everywhere on your job. You know what I mean? At your school, at your bank and finances, in television, in entertainment, wherever. And worse is yet to come. So you think you've seen the worst? Worse is yet to come. They have infiltrated every sector of the US. You know what I mean? The thought police. You can't even think like this with the psychotronic weapons, let alone talk like this. Think about it. With the Neuralink, etc., they're trying to get it to the point where it'll be a crime to even have thoughts that they consider to be subversive toward the United States government. Nonetheless, let me get through the rest of these comments and then I'm going to bring this to an end. It says, wow, profound. We are fighting an invisible army of defense contractors and civilian Stasi up. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. In 2006, Dr. John Coleman, he nailed it. Not sure what happened to him. I'm pretty sure they iced that guy. Anybody who discovers this, they eliminate. Like they've been trying to assassinate me since 2012. You know what I mean? Right after the "Yes, we can" chant, "Change is coming" chant. Well, yeah, they say America got its first black president, and I got targeted. What are the odds of that? And then all these so-called black people were fooled because they don't know all this stuff was by design, by the hidden hand, by those that influence the and shape the moral, spiritual, cultural, political, and economic atmosphere of America. You know, he was groomed. He was already groomed for that position, along with everyone else, you know, that's been in that position of power till today. People may not want to believe it, but whether it's the left side or the right side, they are all part of the same satanic evil bird that's controlling them all. The Jim Marrs Rule by Secrecy, that's another book to help people understand what's going on. But you know what I mean? All these psychotic, black people, these ignorant, brainwashed, MK Ultra, Willie Lynch, mind slave, mind black people that's supposed to be my brothers and sisters. Um, my goodness, I don't even know how to even describe them. I don't want to be lewd in speech, but let's just say, how do I put this? Well, I'll reserve for now. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, it's they have no idea, absolutely no idea, and they're participating. But freedom of speech out the window. They're trying to even nullify freedom of thought. Think about that with the Neuralink, etc. And like I said, my so-called black brothers and sisters, they're too full of bread and too entertained by the circus of entertainment to even be situationally and self-aware enough to know what's really going on. They're on their way to destruction with a smile on their face, enjoying the movie, enjoying the, the entertainment. It says you're right. They control every marriage, divorce, children, um, all technology, media, all has been designed with this system encoded in its core. Absolutely. That's the hidden code encoded into everything. 666. That's the mark of the beast. You know what I mean? It marks everything. It marks everything that in this comment that you're seeing on this screen. That's the hidden code. As a matter of fact, the artificial intelligence um, coding, going all the way back to the codex, there's something called, and I should know this right off the top of my head. It's called, oh my goodness. If anyone knows about computer programming and coding, help me out. I've mentioned this before in other live streams. Oh my goodness. Brain freeze at the wrong time. But anyway, um, it's an algorithm code that is used in computing in the base level of computing in languaging, and it is 666. So, like, you know what I mean? You see that the artificial intelligence, the base of it, its origin is from that base language code, which has skipped my mind and will pop right into it soon as I end this live stream, as it usually does. Nonetheless, the next one says, yes, yes. Um, that's the deepest truth. It's the operators and perpetrators that are the real targets of the social engineering program. Yeah, the, it has behavior modification has worked on them. There's a book by Kathy O'Brien, victim of MK Ultra. It explains this well. She was brainwashed through topical psychology. She was mind controlled, MK Ultra, and weaponized against the people as a super spy. And that book, Formation of America, with former FBI agent Phillips, is mind blowing. It shows you the secret, hidden, disgusting part of America that everyone wants to turn a blind eye to. Why? Because they're afraid of the monster. Pulling the sheet over your head don't make the monster go away. And that's what America has done through fear, because they have no faith, they have no fortitude, they have no backbone anymore. They're pulling the sheet over their head, hoping that this monster that has taken over America goes away. Well, it's not going away. It's not going away. You have to get up and you have to confront the monster in the American closet. And, you know, no pun intended, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And going back to what I said earlier, I'm kind of jumping all over the place because I'm tired. You know, why they were saying, yes, we can. Black people, and you know, saying, hey, change we can believe in. Yes, a change is going to come. Change is finally here. Next thing you know, my brother's like, yeah, change, change. And then it went from, you know, change is finally here to, yes, we got to change. It's like, hey, dude, what happened to your voice? Well, it changed. What happened to your penis? Well, it changed. The only change you got by getting a black president, they made a buffoon out of you because they didn't give you uh, equality change. They didn't give you affirmative action change. They gave you a freaking sex change. They turned your sons into your daughters. Don't believe me? Ask Will Smith and Jada. Ask Dwayne Wade and forget who he's married to, an actress, can't think of her name right off the top of my head for some reason. But ask Dwayne Wade. They turned your sons into your daughters, and your daughters into your sons. Just ask Willow and Jaden Smith. Classic example. That's the change you got. Yep, you voted for it, and it changed your sons into your daughters into your sons. And guess what it done to you? It robotized you. It filled you up with nanotechnology that made you assimilatable and compatible with the artificial intelligence neurotech drones that they got flying all over the United States. And that's a topic within itself. But I'm going to digress, decrease, and maybe next time we can talk about uh, the synthetic telepathy experiments that have been attacking the minds of the people, along with this uh, behavioral modification and topical psychology conditioning that the majority of, if not all of, these defense contractors, secret army shock troops, are victims of as well. As it's yes, yes, that's the deepest truth. It's the operation of the perpetrators that are the real targets of the social engineering system. We are just the bait to train and control the masses. Gen cog warfare. Absolutely. Somebody understands me. Somebody gets it. Somebody's not too afraid to put effort into thought. You know what I mean? Brain lethargia is a sickness. It's like uh, muscular atrophy. Where do it comes from? It comes from you not exercising your muscles. So they shrink. They become callous, small, and useless. Your brain is a muscle, a different type of muscle, but if you don't exercise it, I don't mean entertain it, but exercise it, put it to use, then you get cerebral atrophy. And that's most of America. They're suffering from cerebral atrophy or mental anemics. It says, thank you so much for teaching and sharing your knowledge. It's incredible how much you invest and discover. You're brilliant. Hey, I'm just a man trying to survive. I never thought in a million years that this would be how my life would be spent, just to survive. You know what I mean? Investing into areas. I mean, my 5-year plan 20 years ago didn't consider any of this. I was reading Dave Ramsey books 20 years ago, you know, trying to learn how to invest. I was watching Bloomberg and all that stuff. It says, don't stop. Keep tagging your videos to gain the algorithm. We need to break through to the masses. Tag your titles with hashtags for targeted individuals, Gangstalking, COINTELPRO, MK Ultra, Paperclip. And I will do that. Thank you for that advice. I'm someone who's always willing to learn and adding to my repertoire daily. You know what I mean? I'm constantly growing. I'm just a babe in this stuff. You know what I mean? A babe. Still growing, got much room to grow. And unfortunately, we ain't got too much time left. So hopefully we get some resolve very soon, come up with some answers, some possible solutions of addressment, because America is close to done. You know what I mean? Till next time, you guys stay woke. And my prayers are with you, always with you. And even if you don't see me, even if you don't hear from me through these videos, just know that my heart and spirit is with you, with prayers, with this work that I do behind the scene. I am fighting for you. I'm fighting for your children. I'm fighting for all of humanity. And we are going to win this. I need you guys to fight with me. I need you to pray for me. I need you guys to vocalize this, because conversation turns the situation. They don't want this subject to be spoken on. They want what this Holocaust to be a silent Holocaust, right? They want it to be silent. We're going to voice this. We're going to express this to the world. We're going to make it table talk. No, I don't want to talk about General Hospital or all my children on the lunch break at work or during dinner time for the family. We're going to talk about this silent Holocaust. We're going to put a voice to the victims of this human trafficking crime here in America. We're going to put a voice to the tyranny that is taking place in America. We're going to put a voice to the murder, to the victims of rape and mind rape as well through this psychotronic weaponry. We're going to discuss this on every level. We're going to discuss this with family, friends, strangers, co-workers, etc. We're going to make this the talk of the town, like they've lied about us and slandered us and scandalized us to make us the talk of the town. Well, we're going to make this the talk of the town. We're going to make it a topic that everyone's aware of. And when everyone's aware of the problem, then we can properly address and fix the problem. Till next time, take care. I'm fighting for you. I'm with you. Keep me in your prayers. Stay blessed. Your boy MTAC, as always, has got to be his out.